tracks today.
Yeah. I need them bands, run it up fast, stuffing them shits in the safe. Got me a spot out the way, nigga just tryna be safe. Leaving the house with the glizzy, nigga.
Let's get to the sports talk.
Big story this season, Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers?
Well, for me, it's easily Lamar Jackson. The reason why is because I'm not wondering about anything involving Aaron Rodgers. I'm accustomed to seeing greatness. I expect nothing short of greatness from him, and I doubt that I'll be wrong about that. Last year was an off year for him. He had 25 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions, completing nearly 63% of his passes. I mean, stop the presses. What a god-awful performance by Aaron Rodgers, please. He'll be just fine. The intrigue comes from Lamar Jackson. Number one.
It just, with Lamar Jackson, he had to prove he could throw the football in the league to show everybody why he's the starting quarterback for the Ravens. Like, if he proved into that, he'd be all right. You know, he threw a little bit in the last game he had, but they want to see more out of him. Can he throw the football more than he could run? They know he can run the ball. They want to see, can he carry this offense? Can he get it to the weapons he had this year? That's the only concern people have with him. Like, you shouldn't have no concern with Aaron Rodgers. 25 touchdowns, only 2 picks last year. That was an off year. That was a good off year. But don't be concerned about Aaron Rodgers. We just got to make sure Lamar Jackson is ready to be that franchise for them. That's what people are concerned about.
Because let's face reality here. We've made a lot of noise about him last year, but it was primarily because of the dual threat that he was. He's got tremendous wheels on him, and he can run the football better than some running backs, for crying out loud. He's absolutely electrifying in that regard. As a passer, he has a lot of work to do. He only completed 58% of his passes. Now, he was 6-1 as a starter, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. But he only completed 58% of his passes, only threw 6 touchdowns in 7 games, for crying out loud. He didn't knock anybody's socks off, and when we saw him against the Los Angeles Chargers in the postseason, even though he finished the game 14 of 29 for 194 yards, that's completing 48% of his passes. And oh, by the way, those stats were bloated because of his performance late in the game, like in the fourth quarter. The first 3 quarters of that playoff game was one of the most horrific performances we had ever seen from a quarterback in the history of watching the National Football League. It was god-awful. So we have to remember all of that as well. So he's got a lot to prove, and I think that when you look at what's going on in the AFC North with Cleveland, with Pittsburgh without AB and Le'Veon Bell, and with people having their expectations or lacking expectations about them, with a new coach in Cincinnati with Zach Taylor, you still got your regular team intact, for crying out loud. AJ Green, hopefully he'll get back sooner than later from his health issue. Andy Dalton has some things to prove as well. So there's a level of urgency within the AFC North. That's not to say it doesn't exist in the NFC North with Green Bay, but I just look at Lamar Jackson and what he brings to the table, the fact that you've moved on from Joe Flacco. This is the route that you've gone, and the need for him to...
Yeah, like you moved on from Joe Flacco for Lamar Jackson. I could believe he could throw the ball. He just got to believe he can. You know, if he do that this year, it could take the Ravens to another level. It's just up to him what he want to do. He had a good year last year. He just got to complete more passes to prove everyone that he can throw the football in this league. Everybody knows what he can do besides throwing it, and they just want to see that. Can he consistent throw the football for them? Because he got a lot of people around him to throw the football too. You know, he is in a good division. That's why he had to throw more, like, so he could beat the teams in the division.
Prove that he could actually be a thrower of the football on the NFL level. I think those are the things that allow you to focus on him and be intrigued by him more so than the expected from Aaron Rodgers.
I'm going to talk about Shakespeare and Mike Tyson, Stephen A. You know why Shakespeare wrote about kings and stuff, right? Because the human drama is elevated when people feel it's more important, and this is happening in big, important historical moments. And that's Aaron Rodgers. Whatever happens with Aaron Rodgers is more intriguing than Lamar Jackson, because it's like Shakespeare writing about kings or Julius Caesar or something. Aaron Rodgers is the best I've ever seen do it, and you agree
Wait, is he
with that.
Shakespeare or he's the king? Or
He's
what's,
the king.
Okay, just...
Well,
That's
can
where
I
the
ask you a
drama
question?
is. And,
a quick
and
question,
Lamar
Max.
Jackson, go ahead.
Is there anybody more intriguing than Shakespeare that you could come up with?
Well, how about Mike Tyson?
Okay, let's do
Okay.
that.
This is part two. This is part two. So if the drama is always elevated when you're talking about the important guys, and Aaron Rodgers is more important than Lamar Jackson because it's highly unlikely that Lamar Jackson will ever achieve on the level that Aaron Rodgers has achieved. Mike Tyson. Do you remember the Franz Botha fight? Stephen A., I know you're a big boxing fan. He knocked Franz Botha out in 5 rounds with one right hand. But he'd lost a couple rounds early on. And I remember thinking at the time, whoa, something just changed in the boxing universe. For the first time ever, Mike's going to be the underdog if he fights Lennox Lewis. He'd have never been the underdog. But after that Botha fight, everyone just, it's another Tyson knockout. They ran the highlights. But people were paying attention. It's like, yo, how'd he get outboxed for 3 rounds? 3-4 rounds by Franz Botha. The world has just changed. Our perception has changed so subtly that people won't even really be aware of it. But damn, Mike could be the underdog against someone? That's what just happened to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has always existed in a world where people who are really watching go, that dude's just way better than everybody else. He's just different. Then all of a sudden you had last season. They didn't make the playoffs. He ran his coach out of town. There was an issue with the franchise. They didn't consult him enough about who's coming in, etc. And at the same time, not only did Tom Brady win yet another Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes showed up. And for the first time since Rodgers came on the scene, we looked at a guy and said, maybe he's the most talented guy. And he's young and ascending. And by the way, the reigning league MVP. So where does that leave Aaron Rodgers? You say, we already know all about Rodgers. No, not quite.
Yes, you do. We all know about Aaron Rodgers. The team just got to get a good defense around him to help him out. Once he put the points on the board, he needed good defense to stop the team from putting up so many points. That's why he missed the playoff last year. Coaches and him was bumping heads, but the defense got to improve more for the team to help them out. When you don't got a good defense, what is it to a good offense if you don't have a defense to stop people from putting up 30 points?
In a subtle way, our perception of the football universe just shifted. We don't quite view Aaron Rodgers exactly as we did because of who he's being compared to and what happened last year, the way we viewed him a couple of years ago. And now add to that, he's with a new coach. So we got to see, hold on, Rodgers, you run the last guy to town, we agreed with you. It was old-fashioned offense, got it. But now you got a new guy. How's that going to work out? Are you going to miss the playoffs again? Is there going to be a problem with this coach too? Rodgers is one of the most intriguing stories in the NFL this year.
Well, let me tell you why you're so wrong about this. Number one, this is not boxing. This is not tennis. This is not even basketball. This is football. A lot of times these guys don't even get to go up against one another. You can look at Patrick Mahomes and recognize his greatness and the fact that you're looking at him and saying this is a different kind of cat. And this still doesn't take anything away from what Aaron Rodgers brings to the table. Tom Brady doesn't take away from Drew Brees. Drew Brees doesn't take away from Aaron Rodgers. You look at the greatness of those individuals and you got to recognize them. That's number one. Number two, Aaron Rodgers was not a healthy individual. 2 years ago, he got his collarbone broken, if I remember correctly, by Anthony Barr in Minnesota. Game 3 or 4 during the season. Last year, he got injured again. He just played through it, but he clearly was hobbled, wasn't healthy for the last 3 quarters of the season. Now, if Aaron Rodgers were healthy, y'all, and those results transpired last year, you would have a point. But Aaron Rodgers has been injured the last 2 years. One way he couldn't even play the last 3 quarters of the season, and last year he played through it the last 3 quarters of the season. If there's anything that's intriguing, it's how is he getting along with Coach LaFleur? That's the question. How's he getting along?
Yeah, that's what they want to see. Can he get along with this coach right here? Can he get along with him and keep the train rolling? Or can they not collide during the season like him and McCarthy did? They're trying to get stuff established right there with the coaching. Like, can he get along with them so they can have a coach right here? They just want to see how he do with this coach. Is he gonna bump heads with him, or he gonna like him?
Vibing, or are you going to sit up there and call your own plays, ignore this rookie head coach and what he's that I understand that intrigue, but the intrigue is not about the talent and the exceptionalism about Aaron Rodgers.
No, you're saying Drew Brees doesn't take away from Tom Brady. No, this is different, Stephen A. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN